Today, we are going to talk about 3 ways that anxiety shows up in life. Hi, I'm Beatrice Stanley, mental health therapist and yogi. I talk about mental health and well-being in order to help you on your transformative journey. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Anxiety can be a very tricky emotion because it shows up and looks differently for each person. Oftentimes, the traditional idea of anxiety is something like this. However, anxiety can also look like this, this, and this. Today, we're going to talk about 3 ways that anxiety shows up. Number 1, anxiety can show up as perfectionism. This can be tricky because most of the time, perfectionism is something that is highly valued in Western culture. Doing things correctly and well is often praised and rewarded. What happens when perfectionism is part of the daily routine? It can often look like an endless to-do list. The items that you have to complete often have to be done in a certain way, typically by you, because there is a low level of trust that anyone else can do it as well as you can, and the items are endless. Once you check one thing off the to-do list, there are often 5 other things that you've already put on it, and the other items continue to crop up. So let's talk about one of the biggest issues with perfectionism. Perfectionism is often burdensome for the person that feels things need to be perfect. Given that the belief is that things have to be perfect, as you may know, when there is a high tendency for perfectionism, it is not uncommon to find something wrong with a project that is typically good enough. So you can maybe notice getting nitpicky about things, never feeling like something is actually finished, and being overly critical about the things that you have done or the way that you show up. It can be very frustrating when you experience perfectionism because you feel maybe out of control when things aren't perfect. Let's take a look at number 2, overthinking. This looks like rethinking and overanalyzing places that you have to go to, things that you have to do, and who it is that you are as a person. When you overthink, you can tend to catch yourself thinking too much about a specific topic and kind of going down a rabbit hole. Thoughts tend to spiral and you latch onto something and keep thinking about the what ifs, how to prepare, how to plan or get out of that situation. Sometimes you can pause these thoughts, however, they are very likely to come back. You notice that you talk through the steps you need to take, the way you need to look, how you need to present, what you should have done, and what you will do next time. It makes the mind space a very, very busy place to live in. One of the major issues with overthinking is that it is completely invisible. Unless you tell someone about the thoughts going on in your mind, it is highly unlikely that they will know that's going on for you, which makes it less likely that you will get help for yourself. Number 3 is the inner critic. If you're new to this term, basically what it means is that voice inside your head that analyzes or talks things through with you. It is a harsh voice or a mean voice that tells you about your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. It kind of gives you a report on how you've been living life. The inner critic can best be described as a life grader. It provides you with a report on how it thinks you've been acting, feeling, and doing, and the corrections that it would make. The inner critic is a harsh voice and can often sound like, why'd you do it that way? You should have done it this way. Wow, you've been really lazy. You don't need to rest. What have you actually done today? The inner critic is very mean and judgmental about the way that you've been living. The inner critic isn't always present. However, when it is a very direct and blunt and unkind voice. It is not uncommon to not even notice the inner critic voice and for that to just be a normal part of life. It's also possible to notice the inner critic and agree with what they're saying. And then those harsh thoughts go completely unchallenged. One of the major issues with the inner critic is that, like overthinking, it is an invisible entity. So unless you have these conversations or openly talk about the thoughts that are played in your mind, you and no one else might know that this is going on for you. Another major key to the inner critic is that most of the time, the way you address other people is in a much kinder way than the way that you address yourself. So no one else might challenge what it is that you're saying or help point out that an inner critic is happening for you. I hope this gives you a bit more information about the different ways that anxiety can show up in life. Today we talked about perfectionism, overthinking, and the inner critic. All of these things have in common the foundation or basis in anxiety. I hope this helps you on your transformative journey. Take what fits for you, leave what does not, and I look forward to seeing you next time. See you soon.